Hi everyone. It is a really, really nice day in New York, so I'm really excited to record this podcast and then go outside. So, starting with High Low Buffalo, this week has been so freaking whack. The universe is playing me or something. It's just been the weirdest week. But, anyways, my high was I went camping and I went with 8 of my friends, including me. And we went to upstate New York. If you watched the vlog, you know part 1 of what happened. It was just so fun, and I'm so surprised it even happened because everyone who moved here pretty much didn't have any camping gear. So we had to coordinate, renting everything out. And it's just a lot with not having cars to go camping, but we were able to find 2 people in our group that did have cars, so that was super nice. We ate super good food, especially roasting the kebabs and s'mores over the fire. That was so yum. And then the hikes was just so nice, and I'm so happy that it happened. And for my low, it's kind of tied to the camping trip. So even though it was super fun, one of the people that was on the trip actually got COVID, and then it pretty much spread throughout the entire group. And thankfully, I don't have it right now, but it did lead to me having to cancel an Ohio trip, which I was supposed to be on this weekend. So I was supposed to be in Ohio this weekend, but obviously that's not happening. I'm still in New York City, which I'm honestly not too upset about because I'm just taking whatever I can get, and I'm grateful that I'm still feeling okay and that, my future plans to travel aren't being messed up. But I really was sad that I couldn't make this Ohio trip happen. We were going to do so many fun things, and I was going to vlog it again. And I'm just so upset. We were supposed to go to the zoo. We were supposed to go to Cedar Point, which is this huge roller coaster park. And if you didn't know this, Ohio is actually the roller coaster capital of the United States. I thought there was just corn there. There's not really much to do, but apparently there's really good food, and there's those few things that we really wanted to do, which I was looking forward to. But unfortunately, yesterday we had to cancel it. Finally, Buffalo. It's kind of tying the high and low together. The fact that in work it was hectic, but also outside of work it was super hectic and just chaotic. I was just like, what is happening this week? And I mean, because I was supposed to go on the Ohio trip, I took a day off today, and I decided to stick with taking the day off today because I needed to process what the hell happened this week. And it's actually kind of crazy that even though I canceled the trip yesterday because of COVID situation, the flight itself got canceled by Delta. So the universe, weirdly did not want that trip to happen or something. That is the High Low Buffalo. So moving on to 2 things that I feel people in general just don't do enough of anymore. So the first thing that I feel like we don't do enough of, but we should be doing more of, is being bored. This might sound a little bit weird because being bored isn't the most comfortable thing. Especially when I was a little kid, I really hated being bored. And during school, I would always keep myself busy because there's so many things to do in school. And then summer break would happen, and I would love summer break for 1 week. And then after that first week, and maybe it's because my parents didn't let me go hang out with my friends, or because I didn't really have that many friends. But after that first week, I was like, okay, we get it. This is enough. There's a huge charm to being bored. There's a bunch of benefits to it, actually. And I have noticed this a lot more when nowadays I don't let myself be bored because I'm trying to always do something, whether it is keeping busy with hobbies, just trying to stay at max productivity / efficiency, whatever the crap I'm on. Always having something to do instead of just lying down in my bed and just existing and just sitting there and staring at the wall. The benefits of being bored are, first is that you'll only do things that are worth doing. Just because you're doing something all the time doesn't mean anything. It literally could mean jack shit. You could be doing a bunch of BS the entire 24 hours. An example, okay, I'm just gonna use work. I hesitate because I just hate talking about work so much to the point where it's become my personality. Oh God. But I'll just do it anyways because I feel like it's the best example. But to fill up the 8 hours, you get busy work. And even though you're doing work for 8 hours and you might feel like, wow, I did all this crap, it really could have been just copying Excel sheets or changing the color of a slide, whatever it is. And that kind of work is BS work. That's stupid and a waste of your time. So when you allow yourself to be bored and just sit there and accept boredom, then you don't do things just because you need to fill up the time. The other perk of being bored is that I feel like your best thinking and connecting of thoughts happens during that time, if that makes any sense. So, a lot of people spend time learning new things, which is, yes, valuable, but then you don't really retain that information and you can't really use it much unless you make connections and really fully take time to understand what you've learned. So just throwing stuff into your brain and always constantly using your brain, it's not helpful because there's going to be a point where you're just putting things there. You need to spend time being bored and just sitting there so that your brain can, in the background, make connections. And that's why a lot of the times when you're sleeping, you wake up the next day with thoughts that you haven't even considered, new ideas, even shower thoughts. The concept of shower thoughts is the same thing. When people take time in their showers, they're not thinking about much. They're just going autopilot and just cleaning their bodies, doing whatever they need to do in the shower. But during that time, your best thoughts also come out because you're not doing anything and you're not using your brain. So you can get even more benefit from being bored. Don't just isolate your bored time to showering. Intentionally give yourself time to just sit there when you don't have anything important to do. Another example of this actually working, so in dance, we always say sleep on it. I remember so many times when I would be on teams and in classes and I would learn the dance and it would be really frantic because you're chaotically trying to learn everything in 30 to 45 minutes. And your brain is really taking in a lot of information at once and trying to remember. But then when you're trying to perform it that same day, it really didn't stick. A lot of the times I would just spend the 45 minutes trying to retain a routine. And I did the same thing that everyone else did. And still somehow I cannot remember it. I just feel so frazzled and all over the place. But the moment I go to bed that night and then the next day try to do the same routine again, it's everything just sticks. And I didn't even practice when I was sleeping. There's huge benefits to being bored. I think nowadays we're just so everywhere we have to always be doing something or else we feel bad, or you have to be doing something or else people will judge you. There's always something else to do, something else to read, another post to look at. And it's just yes, they will always be there. And if they're not there, then you'll probably forget about it. It's fine. But it's super important that you still give yourself time to just stare at a wall and not have thoughts. Another side note, this is how I come up with my podcast ideas. It's when I go home from work and I'm sitting in the subway. Sometimes I'll purposefully keep myself from reading my book, and because there's no Wi-Fi in the subway, I will sit there and just force myself to think of things. And that's literally where all my podcast ideas come from. It's insane. The best ideas too. The second thing that we don't do enough of, that we need to do more of, is being quiet. And I am super guilty of both of these things, so it's okay if you feel attacked because I'm literally attacking myself right now. Especially when I'm hanging out with people that I'm not that close to, I love love filling up the awkward silence. I cannot stand it. It is one of the most painful things. Like, I purposefully avoid meeting people and also just talking to people that I don't really know that well on purpose because of the suffering I have to go through whenever there's awkward silence. But there's actually so many benefits to just being quiet and being comfortable with silence. And one is that you tend to be more observant and you have a stronger intuition because of it. It's huge. Like, the amount of information that you can get from just being quiet and just not being the one that is giving information, just only thinking about your thoughts and what you need to say next. Instead, just like be quiet and just quiet down your mind and just observe instead of having to fill up the space. The other benefit of being quiet is you're able to learn more and gain more. So when you're talking and you're sharing your ideas, you're actually giving. But when you're listening to somebody else, you're gaining. You're not going to get anything from sharing what you already know. Like, you already know those things. But when you're listening to other people, you can really get more from somebody's perspective and maybe notice things that you've never noticed before in their body language, or learn more about that person more than the surface level. And you can help connect dots when you're actually genuinely listening to somebody. Because when you're just sitting there and listening to say something, that's different than just listening to fully listen and expecting yourself to be quiet afterwards and not requiring yourself to have something to say afterwards. Those are two very different things. I should also specify. So if you're listening to say something, then you're basically not really listening and you're going to end up talking. So you're going to end up giving and you're not going to gain from that conversation. But if you're listening to fully hear and try to dig deep into what somebody else is trying to say and the body language and what they're trying to communicate, you can really gain a lot more from that interaction. Also, people will like you more if you listen, because people really love talking about themselves and feeling like they have control over the conversation and just talking in general. Like, people just love talking. Like, here I am, I'm talking and giving and sharing my information. So I get it. So when you are the opposite, where you end up just listening to someone, they feel heard. They feel like you're somebody who really gets them just because you're listening. It's like the weirdest thing. The people in my life that I'm more willing to share my secrets with, I notice, are people who are really good at listening. But then when there's people in my life that I know that just love talking about themselves and like never shut up, they just seem like they care more about what they have to say and not really much about what I have to say. And people also really like more mysterious people because you seem a little bit more different. It's like a mystery, and it makes them curious about who you are, what you're thinking. When you are quiet, you come off as somebody that might be hiding a little bit more, and it makes a lot of people more attractive. And it is just a thing that happens in humans where we find the people who are more quiet and mysterious more attractive for some reason. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really short episode, but I might do another one this coming week. We'll see. Yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope you guys, again, have a good rest of your week. Don't forget to follow and rate this podcast because it helps a ton. Thank you.